Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we turn confusing corporate filings into something you can actually understand. Today we are diving into Beam Global's latest report, and trust me, it's not all sunshine and solar panels, some things are a bit dim. Before we jump in, if you are interested in getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure to subscribe and join our Discord server, link in description. Beam Global, a company that makes products like solar-powered charging stations for electric vehicles, is facing some challenges. Their revenue has dropped and they've had to write off a significant amount of money. Let's decode what's going on. Beam Global is in the clean technology business, making things like charging stations for electric cars that use solar power. They also do stuff with smart cities and even have battery solutions. They have factories in the US and Europe. Now let's talk numbers. This report is for the period that ended in March. So it's a look at how they did at the start of the year. These are unaudited, so keep in mind that they could change a bit when the final numbers come out later. Let's scroll to the numbers. Looking at the balance sheet, their cash is down from about $4.6 million at the end of last year to $2.5 million now. Also, accounts receivable is at $7.1 million and inventory at $11.8 million. Property and equipment is at $13.5 million and a very interesting goodwill is now zero. We'll touch on why that's important. Here's the tough news. Revenue for the last 3 months was only $6.3 million, down from $14.6 million in the same period last year. That's like losing more than half of your sales. Their cost of revenue at $5.8 million is still pretty high compared to the revenue, resulting in a small gross profit of around only $500,000. The loss from operations, the money they lost before, considering things like interest, was a whopping $15.5 million loss, massively down compared to last year's $3 million. Ultimately, their net loss, what they lost overall, was $15.5 million, much worse than the $3 million they lost last year. Looks like this quarter was particularly tough. This translates to a loss of 1.04 Shen per share for this quarter, compared to a loss of only $0.21 per share last year. That is a big difference. Now, let's look at the cash flow statement to see if the company has enough money to keep going. The company burned through almost $1.8 million in operating activities. Investing activities used $70,000 and financing added only about $15,000. So the company had an overall cash decrease. This quarter of almost $2.1 billion had an overall cash decrease. This quarter of almost $2.1 nearly dollars. Cash at end of period totaled to only $2.5 million. Now let's check the statement of changes in stockholders' equity and see how ownership stake is changing between major shareholders. Overall stockholders' equity went down by about $15 million this quarter, from $41 million to $26 million. This is mainly due to net losses this quarter. Digging into the notes, there are a few things worth highlighting. First, they talk about concentrations. They mention that they have a few major customers which make up large percentages of their revenues. This means that the loss of even one of these customers could really hurt the company. Internationally, US is still their main market with $4.7 million, while Serbia is second at 1.5. Remember that goodwill we talked about earlier? It was completely written off this quarter with a whopping $10.8 million impairment charge. This is a sign that Beam Global overpaid for some acquisition, and they are admitting that. Also, that loss from Serbia has a very large impact on overall net loss. They also use fair value measurements for some of their assets and liabilities, which involve some estimation and could impact the numbers. They even break out their schedule of contingent consideration in a table and mention that as a level 3 liability. The company also provides some updates regarding recent accounting pronouncements that may have impact on their statements going forward. The company needs to be able to pay off its liabilities and finance its going forward operations. It is very important that the company has good liquidity. Let's see the actions the company is taking to raise money and prevent running out of cash. They have an at-market issuance sales agreement, which allows them to sell up to $8 million in shares, meaning they could sell some more stocks to make some cash, which would dilute the shares. As for the company's equity structure, stock options and warrants also play a role here. It can be found more details by scrolling. And it's always important to check what they are committed to and what kind of future risks they have. There isn't much. They do mention some general legal matters, but there aren't any major risks to mention. There's talk about the usual issues like interest rates, inflation, and geopolitical stuff. It's the standard things are uncertain language. Desmond Wheatley, the CEO, and Lisa Potok, the CFO, signed off on this report. Duck now, let's zoom out. Beam Global is facing some serious headwinds. The big drop in revenue is concerning, and the goodwill impairment suggests past missteps with acquisitions. There is some silver lining, like revenue from international and non-government revenue streams which point to business model diversifications. They need to execute their growth strategy to bring in revenue and cut down costs, or they risk running out of cash. However, one opportunity that stands out is growth of untethered electrification. They can leverage their already unique and competitive positioning to increase market share and reach profitability. In my opinion, Beam Global needs to show investors that they can turn things around. The coming quarters will be very important. Alright, that's our breakdown of Beam Global's latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out our Discord channel for more. Thanks for watching. See you next time.